Yep. Really appreciate you guys coming out. Finals week's been an interesting week for us, just from the standpoint of having to take a couple days off, which I think was really important. I know our girls are in some tough classes, and took Sunday, Monday off, and then got back after it Tuesday, and obviously practiced yesterday, and we'll practice from here on out. But takeaways from the K-State game, 3 out of the 4 quarters I thought we played really well. You look at the first, second, and fourth, it was a 44-48 point differential. Third quarter got away from us in a hurry, and it happened in a hurry. I just feel like coming out at halftime, again, we didn't close the gap on their first punch versus when we started to fight back. And we've got to do a better space. We got to do a better job in that space when those things happen. I think, just one of our challenges right now is we're a really good offensive team, but when that ball doesn't fall for us, I really think it dictates our intensity and our aggressiveness on the defensive end. And so something we're aware of. I think also in the third quarter, when you look at statistically throughout the body of work in our first 11 games, that third quarter has been a really hard quarter for us on the defensive end. And just trying to find ways, in practice to maybe quiet our voices as coaches and make sure we're being really intentional in communication. I think in that first half it's really easy because we can almost give them the scout as they're right in front of us, but that third quarter has been a problem for us on the defensive end. And so, we've got to find tactical ways to get better in that area as well. Looking forward to what's in front of us with Illinois. I think it's another great opportunity for us. I don't look at this as a setback. I think it's a setup for us to learn and grow and continue to show quicker resilience in those moments. And just continue to get better. So I'm looking forward to what's in front of us. And Illinois is a really good team. Really impressed with them on film. They've got a great inside-outside punch. I think their athleticism, the physicality, as good as anybody that we've played, to be honest with you. And so it's going to be another battle for us, but I'm looking forward to seeing if we've made some improvements this week.
Coach, have you gotten a sense from the court ruling yesterday of what that means for Demila and if she's going to be able to come back?
Yeah, that was pretty wild, wasn't it? Yeah. Out of the blue, I come out of practice yesterday and my phone's blowing up. I don't have an answer for you yet. We're still, we're talking to our compliance, and I know our compliance is in touch with the SEC, and there's still some question marks out there in regards to if that affects eligibility for the following year, and so really just trying to get some clarity on that. So unfortunately, I don't have an answer on that. Avery, she's meeting with the doctors on the 18th, which I believe is Monday. And so hopefully have some clarity on when she'll be back with our team. With Angie, we're still in an evaluation period, trying to get that full range of motion back before any decisions are made.
With Demila, is that a situation where if everything checks out compliance-wise and eligibility-wise, where you'd look to bring her in pretty immediately, or you'd have to scale her up, or where do you think?
It's crazy to even think about, right? She's been on the scout team and hasn't had a ton of reps with, our within our rotation, but I think when there's opportunities and it makes sense, absolutely, we'll dress her out and see if we can figure out that rotation. And I don't know that it's going to be. I don't know. It's a little messy. It's interesting. And how much time do you spend on that when we don't even know if it's going to come to fruition or not? So we'd love to have her be able to play. Is that for 14 days or is that for, I have no idea. But our mindset is to win the day. And so if she helps us win the day, absolutely would want to take advantage of that.
Robin, just to clarify a little bit on that, I know it's messy and I don't know anything about this, but when it comes to Demila, is the reason you're kind of hesitant because of the ruling, because she might lose at eligibility, or is it more so you just want to make sure you dot all the I's, cross the T's?
Yeah, I'm not hesitant at all. I just don't know the answers. So there's zero part of me that's hesitant. It's more just trying to figure out and get more clarity from the SEC and our compliance office of, this came out of the blue. And what that would look like and the implications for next year So we're just really in a holding pattern.
So she could play technically, I guess?
Maybe. I don't have any more answers than you do, unfortunately. And if I did, I'd be happy to share them. But alls I know is our compliance offices, and that's just not media room talk. That's real talk. That our compliance office is in conversations with the SEC and the NCAA, and I think everybody around the country right now is probably trying to get some clarification on what that really looks like.
When speaking with Delilah more on that personal level, what's kind of been her thoughts these last couple days?
We haven't talked a lot about it, just because I don't have any answers for her. And so, I think she's probably just as confused as all of us, but I think she's in a really good headspace of just trying to stay where her feet are and just take it one day at a time, and doesn't want to get too high, and get excited about something that might not come to fruition. So just trying to really stay steady and focus on practice today.
So when you go back to the K-State game and you look at that third quarter, that point differential, when you talk about just making sure, or just finding ways to get the ball in the basket, well, what are some of the ways you can do that, especially with this veteran team where you've got a lot of players that can score?
Yeah.
Also understand that maybe it could be someone else's night or should be someone else's night.
Yeah, that's a great question. So, just really focusing on finding ways to get to the free throw line more, and finding ways to get second and third possessions. There's going to be nights where it just doesn't fall, and uncharacteristically missing some layups from some players that typically don't. It went from 19 to 18 like that. And in that little 3-minute span, we had 2 turnovers that are unguardable layups. Just the transition that there's just no answer for. And so, but I think, the point of emphasis there on nights when the ball's not falling for us, certainly first and foremost on the defensive end, but also finding a way to get to the free throw line, attack in the basket, but also being more relentless with our rebounding and making sure we're always sending 3, if not 4, to the boards.
Coach, what are some of the changes that you've made in practice coming out from this game when you talk about the defensive adjustments and then trying to get those second chance opportunities?
Yeah, so finals week is always hard. Everybody thinks you got all this time to practice, but you really do have to balance it. And these young ladies are further ahead than I was. I was always cramming the night before and 2 nights before, but I still, I know that there's a wear and tear mentally, emotionally, physically. And so just trying to be mindful of our time on the court. But really, like I said, for us, the communication defensively, the awareness, a sense of urgency, and some of the breakdown work that we've done the last 2 days is just really trying to quiet our voices as coaches and make them just to be sure that the communication, we're giving a command, it's clear what is the command, and what's the execution from that command versus always giving them the answers. And so, for us, it's really taken a little bit more of a step back, along with working, tactically on, our drop step and coverage and rotations. A lot goes into that. But to be honest with you, I think it's about heart. I think it's about grittiness. I think it's about toughness. I think it's about putting out fires for each other. And we cannot get hijacked at the level that we do from what's happening on that offensive end to the defensive end. And so creating that awareness with our team and showing clips of, when we were really aggressive and taking charges and getting deflections after made shots versus missed shots. And so it's my job to help them understand when I'm talking about punching back after we receive that first blow, helping them understand what that looks like. What does a punch back look like? Well, it's getting a stop. We missed 2 shots in a row. Let's be darn sure that we're getting back on the defensive end. We're contesting shots hard and we're not allowing second shot opportunities. That's how you've got to, and some days it's just going to be ugly. Games are going to be 53-54, especially in the SEC, a league that I think is, known for its physicality and defense. So there's going to be grind out possessions, and we've got to get outside our feelings and just be able to move on quicker to the next play and that defensive mentality.
Coach,
Getting me all fired up here.
speaking of defensive intensity, how much of defensive success, if you're putting like a percentage point on it, is fundamentals versus something like attitude? Like intangible?
That's a great question. I think it's a little bit of both, to be honest with you. I think you can be fundamentally sound, but I also think, there's nights you're going against pretty athletic kids, pretty physical players. A lot of the game is played in transition. And so probably, to me, first and foremost, stopping transition is really important. And I think a big part of that, no matter how fundamentally sound you are, there is a communication component that is essential. You have got to use your voice. You've got to direct traffic. But I think it's a little bit of both. I think part of it's tactical. I think part of it's just a grittiness and a heart posture and a toughness that, you're going to find a way. It's not a perfect game. There are going to be rotations. There's one-on-one accountability, but there's also putting out fires for each other and that awareness of, just that next rotation.
Coach, what have kind of been your thoughts about the way that Abby Fight has played the last couple games? 3 straight games that she's had double-digit points and also got her first start against Kansas State.
Yeah, happy for her. She works really hard. Unfortunately, right there at the end of our preseason, she was playing at a really high level. I guess that's not unfortunate. That's a good thing. I mean, it took her some time to kind of feel her rhythm and feel like she was looking comfortable out there. And I felt like she was playing really, really well. And then she went down with her foot injury that, she was out for a couple weeks. And not only the conditioning for a player like Abby, but also the reps with a new team. It took her a little while to kind of get back into that flow. And so it's good to see her getting back to what we saw in that preseason. And I think, if we can keep her healthy, she'll just continue to rise to the occasion.
When you look at that starting lineup, when you compare Hannah to Abby, what do you think each of those looks gives you?
Yeah, I think they're both really important. Hannah didn't do anything wrong. I think sometimes people get married to lineups, and we probably do to a fault. We felt like there was an opportunity to really, it's a chess match, and, you make a move, they make a move, and it's a 40-minute chess match. And we felt like it would pose some matchup problems for them and really draw Lee out on the perimeter. We got some really good looks. It was just a night the ball wasn't falling for us. So if the ball falls, we look like a genius, and it doesn't. And it's like, you need that inside presence on the defensive end. And so you got to be willing to take some risk, and you got to make some adjustments. But I think Hannah's been doing a lot of really good things for us. I love the energy that she brings to the court. I think she's just going to continue to get better and better. I think she's got the ability to rebound out of area for us, maybe not at the level that Angie did, but I think Hannah's getting there. And so I think they both bring great value. That was just a matchup and kind of a chess match, and we felt like, it might give us an opportunity early to kind of expose some of their weaknesses on the defensive end.
Coach, from the UMKC game to the LSU game, you have 2 straight weeks with no games. Obviously, I would think rest is going to be an important priority, but how important is it to also capitalize in terms of self-reflection and getting ready to go heading into the new year and into conference play?
Yeah, I think that's really important after every game, and I think we moved on a little bit too quickly from Missouri State. We're pretty we're pretty routine in regards to debriefing our last game, evaluating what went well, what do we need to get better at, and we moved pretty quickly to K-State, and that's on me. That game isn't bigger than the debrief. We've got to be consistent with that. But I think, our mindset after every game is that self-reflection. I think it's so important. I don't think there's a period that you stop, pause, and do it. I think it's got to be pretty consistent from day to day and from game to game. But I do think that window is pretty big. I think having a chance to go home and spend time with family is really important. I think, there's so much, it's a group of just perfectionist personalities. They work really hard in the classroom. They work really hard on the court. They want this really bad, but I think there's a time to exhale and recalibrate. And I think that's kind of what you're talking about. Just kind of refresh your mind before you go into the gauntlet of the SEC. And so that balance of having the family time, enjoying the holiday, but also making sure you're taking care of, your business, taking care of your body, not getting too far away from, the way that you're eating, your sleep patterns and things like that, so that when we do come back and prep for LSU, we're in a really good place.
Similar to that last question, just obviously finals week is a big part of this week, but having this 8-day stretch where you kind of get to take a step back and maybe focus on the little things in practice, heading into the next game, just kind of how important has that been?
I think really important. I think, the evaluation, the consistent evaluation of myself, of our staff, of our team, it's critical. Otherwise, you get in this space of just comfort, and I don't think that's a good place that you're moving in. And so it's a constant evaluation. What's going well for us? What do we need to correct? What are the 3 points of emphasis today in practice? And then breaking it down individually for our players in those film sessions. I think self-evaluation is a really big part of continuing to grow and be a better version of yourself as a team and as an individual.
We'll take one or two more if you guys have some.
With Shauna doing a really good job at Illinois, I mean, with some of the things that she's done, it was really impressive. But I mean, to have that game on the road, just like K-State, also Virginia, how important is it to throw the first punch, like you mentioned, just to have the opportunity to go up to set the tone?
Yeah, but I feel like we have. At Virginia, we did a pretty good job of that. And I thought, against K-State, we got up. And so, I think it's not only maintaining that mindset, but the recalibration, because it is a game of runs. And how long do you allow those runs to last? It will end. It's a matter of when you're going to stop it. Is it going to be within the next 2 possessions, or is it going to be the media timeout? And being able to recalibrate quicker in those moments and close down that gap mentally of being able to be present and that next play being the most important play. And so, that's where we're really challenging our players and looking for more growth.
If I could follow up on that, I guess, what ways can you throw that first punch coming out of halftime? Are there any things you can do adjustment-wise, or is it just say, hey, just keep doing what we're doing?
I don't think it's always it kind of depends upon each game and, what the flow is and, areas that we think we can expose or clean up, or whether it's hurting us now, it might hurt us in that, that next quarter. I know the players understand. I go on the board in the locker room at halftime, and they've always, they've already debriefed a certain extent within the locker room, which is really awesome. And they've got a couple bullet points on the board that they think, and oftentimes it aligns with kind of where our headspace is as a staff. But when we talk about, making sure they call the first timeout, well, what goes into that? Like there's stuff that goes into making them call that first timeout. And what does that look like specifically? Being assignment correct, making sure our rotations are on point, really execution, taking care of the ball. But again, there's a lot of new faces. We've got a core returning. We've got some really good young players. We've got some good transfers. And we just got to continue to build, to lean in, and to grow, and to get better in those moments.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thanks. Appreciate you guys.